I call Gareth Hughes.
Kia ora, Mr Speaker. Ngā mihi nui kia koutou. Kia ora. I'd like to acknowledge Te Reo Language Week in New Zealand, and I guess that's iconic part of our culture, about being New Zealand. Yet what we're debating under urgency with this bill today is something foreign. It's something distant, in fact something 16,000 kilometres distant, a total different part of the world. It's not about New Zealand. This bill is a relic of the monarchy in New Zealand, a dying institution, I believe, for New Zealand, Mr Speaker. So I welcome the ability to rise and take a call on this, the Royal Succession Bill. I think it's fair to say I'm not a monarchist. I'm a Republican, Mr Speaker, proud of it. I voted for Keith Locke's bill last term. I support a discussion on a head of state. I believe the monarchy is discriminatory. I think it goes against our Kiwi values. I think it goes against that spirit of a fair go for everyone, not just those of privileged birth. You know, it was pretty galling, Mr Speaker, to have to swear allegiance to the Queen, to take my seat and speak in this chamber. I think many members probably find it a disconcerting and an odd institution to have to go through for what is the parliament of our country, of all New Zealanders, to have to swear allegiance to someone who lives on the other side of the world and her heirs and successors. I find troubling. Luckily, I can just think about Freddie Mercury when I'm swearing allegiance, Mr Speaker. So the Greens will be abstaining against this bill. We're not voting against it, we're not opposed to it, but likewise we're not supporting it. We don't support this institution which is discriminatory and the discrimination which is still contained in this bill. This bill is trying to bring gender balance, is trying to, on the fringes, impact on Roman Catholics and other religions taking the throne and marrying successors, but it's still discriminatory, Mr Speaker. So, first up, we've got a terribly poor process. I mean, this has been around for a long time. We've known about this discrimination for a long time. The agreement came in Perth with some of the Commonwealth countries coming together and agreeing this had to be changed because it was just so embarrassing. So embarrassing to have the future monarch having a baby, but problems with royal succession. And of course, I haven't heard once why we have to introduce it under urgency. I think this is not a law we need to be passing under urgency, and I guess we question, given the select committee process, what's the point? Is the government going to amend anything based on expert evidence, based on the Bill of Rights Act vet, based on submissions, given that 16 other realms have to agree to the identical text? My question is, are we going to get a real select committee process there? So the bill changes three main things. The succession doesn't have to be dependent on person's sex, bars the throne from people marrying a Roman Catholic. Obviously the monarch still can't be a Roman Catholic, must be an Anglican, and it abolishes the requirement of all descendants of King George II must seek the sovereign's consent to marry. Pretty good change, but the monarch still gets a hand in arranged marriages for 6 people in the succession line. I don't like the idea of supporting the monarch being able to still pick arranged marriages, and I don't think it's in keeping with our Kiwi culture or 2013, the year we're in right now. So I believe this bill and the entire institution of the monarchy personally is a relic of the past. I think these changes are too late for this relic of the past, for this discriminatory institution of the monarchy. I guess the catalyst has been Will's and Kate's wedding and the baby, and I wish them all the luck. And I've got to admit, I did actually watch the wedding on the telly, Mr Speaker. I wish them all the best, but I think, while I welcome the ending of discriminatory practices against their firstborn, I think it's too little, too late. And again, of course, it's discriminatory in the sense that no way, or almost no way, can a New Zealander be the head of state of New Zealand. I want to have a New Zealander as my head of state. I want to be swearing allegiance to the people, to the voters. I don't want to be swearing allegiance to someone who lives on the other side of the planet and still arranges marriages for their children. I'm against discriminating against Roman Catholics, and that's why I will not be supporting this bill tonight. I'm against arranged marriages. So, Mr Speaker, I agree with this quote from the Republican Movement of New Zealand, which is, and I quote, "This is a poor attempt at modernising an arcane and increasingly irrelevant institution. It emphasises that the monarchy is a foreign remnant of our colonial past, and we are only keeping the clause discriminating against Catholics because England has an established Protestant church." Mr Speaker, it's going to be interesting to see the Bill of Rights Act vet being discussed in the Select Committee, but ultimately, Mr Speaker, New Zealand being a monarchy is like the stereotypical 30 or 40-year-old still at home with their parents. We know they've got to move out. Maybe it's a bit cruisy, maybe they don't have to think for themselves, maybe there's some advantages, but it's time for New Zealand to grow up, get a real job, move out of the home of their parents and take our own way in the world. I support a New Zealand head of state.
I call Paul Foster Bell.
Tēnā koe, Mr Speaker. Sir, there